Try it right now. Take a normal breath. Hold it and just don't let go. You feel fine for a while. Then something changes. A tightness, a pressure behind your ribs. Your throat starts to pull. And within a minute or two, no matter how calm you are, no matter how much you want to keep going, your body takes the decision out of your hands. You breathe. You have no choice. Here is the uncomfortable truth. You cannot hold your breath until you die. Genuinely, you can't. Your body has a kill switch built in, and it will not let you suffocate yourself on purpose. But there is one way to switch that safety off. And that single trick has drowned some of the strongest, calmest swimmers alive, in water shallow enough to stand up in. Water where they were in complete control, right up until the second they weren't. This is the story of a reflex most people have never really thought about, and a number that marks the exact line between control and blackout. But to understand why you can't hold your breath to the end, and why some people accidentally can, you first need to understand what actually makes you breathe. Most people think you breathe because your body runs low on oxygen. That when the tank gets close to empty, an alarm goes off and forces you to inhale. It's a clean story. It's also wrong. Not completely, but wrong in the one way that matters. Your body barely watches your oxygen at all. What it watches, obsessively, second by second, is carbon dioxide. Here's how it really works. Every cell in you burns fuel and produces carbon dioxide as waste. You normally breathe that waste out, but hold your breath, and the carbon dioxide has nowhere to go. It builds up in your blood and turns it slightly acidic. And you have sensors, chemoreceptors, in your brainstem and your arteries, whose entire job is to detect that rising acid. Think of it less like a fuel gauge for oxygen and more like a smoke alarm for carbon dioxide. It doesn't wait for the fire. It screams at the first hint of smoke. That's the part that saves your life. Because carbon dioxide climbs fast, much faster than oxygen falls. There is a comfortable buffer, a gap between when you feel like you must breathe and when you actually need to. The alarm is designed to fire deep inside that buffer, while your brain still has plenty of oxygen left in the tank. So the panic you feel when you hold your breath isn't your body dying. It isn't even close. It's your body being cautious, early, deliberately too early. That margin of safety is the whole point, and as you'll see, it's exactly the margin that gets erased. That moment, when the pressure becomes unbearable and your diaphragm starts to spasm and jerk against your will, has a name. Physiologists call it the breakpoint. It is not a decision. It is an involuntary contraction, driven by that surge of carbon dioxide and acidity, and by the breathing muscles themselves signaling distress. It's the point where your conscious will loses and your brainstem takes over. And in a healthy person, that override is so powerful that if you somehow pushed past it into unconsciousness, your body would simply start breathing again on its own. The kill switch works even when you're not awake to feel it. So how long does it take to reach that breakpoint? For most people, untrained, sitting still, somewhere between 30 and 90 seconds. That's it. Trained freedivers can push it far longer through years of practice. But even at the absolute physiological ceiling, with no cheating, the world record for static apnea, holding still underwater on a single lungful of ordinary air, is 11 minutes and 34 seconds. 11 minutes. That is the edge of what a human body can survive. Not a target, a wall. And here is where the trick comes in. The trick that quietly kills. If you breathe fast and deep for a minute or two before holding your breath, hyperventilating, you feel like you're loading up on oxygen. You're not. You barely add any. What you actually do is blow off carbon dioxide. You empty out the very thing your alarm is listening for. Now hold your breath and notice what's missing. The pressure, the panic, the urge. It's gone, or nearly gone, because the smoke alarm has almost nothing to detect. You feel calm. You feel like you could go forever. but your oxygen is still draining, quietly, with no alarm attached to it. And because you silence the carbon dioxide warning, there is nothing left to make you surface in time. So your oxygen falls, and then your brain simply runs out and switches off. No gasp, no struggle, no dramatic thrashing. One moment you're calm and swimming, the next you're unconscious. And if that happens underwater, your body, now unconscious, does the only thing it knows how to do. It tries to breathe. It inhales water. That is a hypoxic blackout. That is how the trick drowns you. This is not theoretical. This is documented. And it's exactly why competitive pools ban breath hold games, and why every freediving federation on Earth forbids hyperventilation before a dive. There are two versions of it. In a shallow pool under about 15 feet, it's called shallow water blackout, and the cause is that emptied out carbon dioxide. In deep freediving, past 10 meters, there's a crueler version. On the way back up, the water pressure drops, and with it, the oxygen pressure in your lungs collapses. So divers black out in the final few meters, agonizingly close to the surface. And the science had to correct itself along the way. For a long time, the breakpoint was blamed on one simple sensor – the chemoreceptors in your arteries. But careful experiments showed the picture is stranger than that. Block those sensors, and people still hit a breakpoint. The urge to breathe seems to come from a whole distributed system, including receptors in the diaphragm muscle itself. Your body has more than one way to force you to breathe, which is exactly why defeating it is so unnaturally dangerous. You're not switching off one alarm, you're fooling the master one. You can even measure how much the oxygen side matters. In 2016, a freediver named Aleix Segura held his breath for 24 minutes and 3 seconds. But he did it by breathing pure oxygen first, supersaturating his blood, stretching the oxygen side of the equation to its limit. Strip that away, and you're right back at 11 minutes. Because in the end, it was never really about oxygen, it was always about carbon dioxide. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. The people who die from this are not reckless deep-sea divers pushing extremes. They are strong, healthy, competent swimmers, in ordinary pools, in shallow water, often within arm's reach of the wall. Sometimes in water shallow enough to stand in. They don't die because they are weak. They die because they were good enough to hold their breath a little too long, after doing the one thing that quiets the warning. And it is silent. That flailing, shouting, waving image of drowning, that's not this. Hypoxic blackout looks like sudden stillness. A swimmer who simply stops moving and hangs there, motionless, sinking. To a lifeguard glancing across a busy pool, it can look like someone resting. It is the quietest way a body can shut down. The victims are competitive swimmers, spearfishers, breath hold trainees, even rescue and military swimmers doing underwater distance drills. And again, teenagers and young men playing a simple game. How long can you hold your breath? Drowning kills hundreds of thousands of people worldwide every year. And a quiet share of those are not people who couldn't swim. They're strong swimmers who blacked out without ever knowing they were in trouble. That's what makes it so hard to guard against. A trained swimmer holding still underwater doesn't look like an emergency. It looks like control. The single real warning sign is that sudden, wrong stillness. And the single reliable protection is almost boring. Never hyperventilate before a breath hold. Never breath hold train alone. Always have someone watching who understands what a silent blackout looks like. And never trust the calm, because with this, the calm is the symptom. So step back. It was never about willpower, or lung size, or how tough you are. It comes down to one chemical alarm. And what happens the moment you silence it? Your body's flat refusal to let you hold your breath until you die is not a weakness, it is a feature. The people who die are the ones who found the trick to turn it off. So that breath you just held a few minutes ago, the one your body forced you to release, that wasn't you failing. That was your body saving your life, right on schedule. And the next time you're tempted to breathe out hard, push down and steal one more length underwater, now you know exactly what you'd be switching off.